Hello everybody, it's been a while since I last made the video, but this year we just kickstarted the Pan NSC League again, so I thought I will do a little commentary about my first round. I represent Team Chicago. I play board one. In round one, we played against Toronto. My opponent was Ivan Lowe. He's a very strong player from the University of Toronto. I actually played him at the Toronto Spectacular at the end of 2022. In that game, it was very exciting till the end, but I blundered in endgame and I ultimately lost by 2.5 points. So in this game, I definitely wanted to make a revenge. So leaving some suspense, I'll save the result at the end and I'll just dive into the game. I was black. I studied this Joseki briefly this week just to prep for my opening. I was thinking I will leave the 3-4 corner open to potentially make something more complicated. In the game, he had the high approach, which kind of simplified the game. But if he played the low approach, I think I'll play here. Yeah, it's still a very normal opening, but I just thought I would switch things up and do something like this. His Tiger's Mouth is fairly rare nowadays. I think after the Lee Sedol versus AlphaGo games, we don't really play the Tiger's Mouth as much because we realized that black can actually Tenuki locally. Maybe something play somewhere in the pincer area. And in terms of this corner, white cannot play. Well, white can play here, but it's not as devastating as we once thought. So for example, in this case, black can just live in the corner. White is fine, but black's corner is pretty safe, and black has Sente. So it's fairly even, but AI probably slightly prefers black. The main difference between the Tiger's Mouth and Connect is when white doubles Hane here. In this case, black can has a nice clamp, so white can't really fight effectively. If white connects and black can Nuki, which is also possible, white can double Hane here and create something like this. So notice move 8, black can only connect here. And white can almost have a seal. This is still a complicated fighting variation, but we can see that black is not as comfortable here as in this situation. So just a little bit about the opening. In the game I Tenuki because I'm not afraid of white coming down right away. If white plays here, black usually have two options. Black can either wedge and cut and do something like this and get Sente, or black can play even simpler, just Hane here. I think Tiger's Mouth and Connect both work, and get Sente again. If white plays this move, black can make some exchanges and Keima. So black's corner is still, pretty comfortable. Here, Ivan also played a simple variation. I think his style in the opening is just to play simple. He doesn't really try any complicated variation, which is consistent with my experience against him almost 3 years ago at this point, 2.5 years ago. Very simple. And then at this point, I know there are other options. I could pincer here, I could play the top left corner. But since he plays so simple, I just thought I would finish a Joseki in the bottom right. There's possibility for me to play something else. But I just don't know if I want to start big fight so early. In hindsight, there are many other possibilities. So here, here, here. Yeah, and there are a lot of pincer spots on the right side. This is probably the first major difference that we have in the game. I was happy to get the turn because I thought the upper side is a lot more valuable than the left. White only has 4 or 5 spaces, and black has a little bit wider. There is some possibility to attack my Ponuki group, which he did later in the game. But I just thought if we ever get into a situation where we're both getting territory, black would always get more. So I was happy to get the turn. While having said that, the game is still pretty even. But I think I'm happy about my position so far. So here was probably my first major mistake. I saw the right shape later in the game, but I wasn't quite sharp enough. The Hane exchange was fine. Notice there's a cut Aji here. Like there's some cut Aji. White can't do it right away, but it means that white has some sort of Sente move around here, or maybe even down here. Black has to worry about this cut at some point. So I just want to fix this cut. The Hane is one way, a good way to fix in Sente. But the AI also recommends jumping here. It's a thicker move, and there's a really nice follow-up, which is to jump again. Now the bottom become Black's framework. Okay, but my main mistake is actually jumping here. It's a slack move. The attaching is the vital shape. It's not so surprising in hindsight, but in the game, I basically just forgot about this move until later. I played here, and then later I played here, and then some moves later I played here. So I still found the shape, but it wasn't timely enough. So I wasted a lot of moves when I could just attach right away. So notice there's a lot of liberty shortage for white because I can turn at d2. Basically, white can only do basically go back, and I can Hane here, and I can achieve nice shape while connecting my group. So notice with one move, I have sealed white's out to the side. If white tries to do anything funny like Hane here, I can turn, and now the corner will be in trouble. Yeah, this semi-eye will work for black. And moves like this doesn't really do anything. White can just, let's see, probably just Hane or honestly, maybe even here. So black and Atari and Sente. Well, not Atari. So if white plays here, black can probably just extend. White's shape is still pretty uncomfortable. Or maybe Hane too. Oh, Hane probably is the best. So black can still get a nice seal. So that was the first learning point for this game for me. White jump here to as a Sente reduction. I thought about other options too, but I think ultimately protecting the corner is always worth one move. Jumping is definitely another possibility too. So if white invades my right side, this is pretty big, I can go into the left side. But I figure I will have 20 plus points in the corner, plus when I white gain 10. So I feel like this invasion will be worth something around 25 points. And it's hard for me to reduce 25 points on the left-hand side. So I just play a more simple move. Here white played a strong Hane, which leaves an obvious cut. At this point, I think some player will be tempted to try to fight out this zone to see if there's anything black can do. But white is so strong nearby, I don't think I can really get much. So in the game, I chose a sacrifice strategy, which is cutting here. It's easy to underestimate how important this type of exchange is. Cutting locally is worth 12 points if we get to this shape. But notice in the game I can capture, and white has to reinforce in the middle. So later, I can play all of this in Sente, which means the capturing, instead of being 12 points, it's actually another 4 or 5 points better. This is a Sente, about Sente 16-point game, a move, Sente 16. Which means I gain more in the corner than basically white has gained in the middle. So at this point, I feel pretty happy about my position. It's still like pretty even, but through playing simple, I haven't lost any ground. And my shape is pretty strong everywhere except the bottom left. Now this is another mistake. I should still play the attach. Yeah, at this point, I thought about a few different things. I was not sure about where to play because I know I have some weakness in the bottom left, but I wasn't sure if I just try to Tenuki and play something in the middle, whether that would be good enough for me. Because white has 35 on the left, 10, maybe even a little more on the bottom left, and then the right side seems to be about 10, 15 because there's some potential. I can get 50, 60 points in the top, but that's pretty much it in terms of my solid territory. And then maybe 14 on the bottom right. So it looks like I do have a lot on the top, but I'm worried that white can get a lot of potential in the center by attacking my weak group. The simple move would actually just to be push cut. I really debated about this. Ultimately, I didn't play it because I thought, oh, like with one move, I only gain less than 10 points. But this is actually super valuable because now my group is completely safe. And later, I can also get more territory in the bottom. In the game, my group wasn't alive. So white basically ended up getting a lot of Sente moves around this area and even made a few points. Whereas if I just settle myself and have 2 solid eyes, the bottom will definitely be my potential. So here is another AI inspired move. This peep is very nice. Compared to the push cut, it gives black an extra Atari. So it would be just a few points better compared to if I just push cut, white can make this Atari. And it will be like if I throw in here and white captures. So this is a small game. Yeah, in hindsight, I definitely should just push cut. This would be my style, play thick, save the 5 for later in the game. And it's just very valuable, very normal, like Honte moves. Here I try to be a little more creative. I thought about just jumping, but I thought maybe I can play here. If white turns, I can extend. Compared to jump, I'm getting more territory. And I feel like this might put more pressure on white. And if white just keep pushing, then I'm really happy to get more territory on the top. So of course, white will have a counterattack by cutting here. And I read about this. I thought I can capture these 2 stones and locally I'll be okay. It's hard for white to save these directly. If white just keep turning and pushing, I think it's not easy for white to live. Yeah, because black is so strong nearby, it's hard to find 2 eyes. In the center, black's only weakness is this cut, but I don't think white is strong enough to really capture these 2 stones. So in the game, white didn't choose to play directly. White played this shoulder hit. It's a very nice move. If something doesn't work directly, don't play it. You should just save the Aji and profit indirectly. And this shoulder hit is a very good example of that. A very nice move. It's hard for me to capture this directly. I don't think there's any way because I have the turn Aji and also this cut has bad Aji too. So if I try to do something like this, I think white can just simply play here. And now white can either connect at O14 or maybe Hane down at P17. The Aji is just too bad, and I think it will be quite unreasonable for me to try to capture everything. So in the game, I chose to fix the Aji first, but I guess AI would like me to just connect. It still captures these 2 stones, but maybe leave more weakness for white in the center, like maybe attach here or here later. Not a huge difference, but definitely I strengthen white for not enough gain. At this point, the opening was even, but I made a couple slack moves in the bottom, so the game is already a little better for white. So we can turn on the AI review. Yeah, so white is slightly better. And actually, throughout a lot of the exchanges, AI really emphasized fixing the bottom left. So as long as black is not alive, white can profit a lot. Here is some good Tesuji from both sides actually. White pushing on the 4th line, the stronger move. If I just bump here, then white can turn in Sente, and now white's happy to connect. After these exchanges, there's no good way for black to connect underneath, so white is happy here. If white just blocks, white's probably afraid of that the connection won't be as complete. And if white just connects, then I still have good moves to play on the bottom. So pushing is nice. So I don't want to just bump. I think that's too passive. And I realized that my efficiency in the bottom is not super great. So I play more proactively here. So now if white plays here and I bump, then the cut and in the side and in the center will become EI. So I think after I push here, white basically has to Hane here. And now there's some bad Aji in the corner. The simplest move is extending, but white can play this 2-space jump. Locally, this will be a Ko. Yeah, this will be a ko. And I think if I just play this way, white is will be pretty happy because this living in the corner here will be worth almost 30 points. And I don't have good I might have some Kofa in the bottom left. But if I lose this ko, then I think my whole corner group is also in danger. So most likely I will capture the center and then we'll let white live. And I don't think I will quite get enough. My game variation is similar to that, but I play more exchanges in the center first. I thought about Hane. I thought maybe white will Kasumi and then I can block. So now white cannot play this 2-space jump. White can only jump 1 space. But this shape is dead. Black has a really classic Tesuji, just push and clamp. White is dead locally. And something to note is even if black doesn't have this block, even if the shape is like this, so white has an extra turn, jumping here is still a dead shape. This is also dead locally. There could be some capturing raise, but just in terms of the corner, the push and clamp will kill white, this shape, every time. The other option I have is actually to block directly. I don't know why I didn't consider this. I thought I just really wanted to get a Hane exchange, but why reverse Hane in the game? So then I can no longer block because of this cut. But actually I can block with my first move. And white can't cut me from here. Well, I'm all connected. So white would just see what he can do with this corner Aji. So it looks like I should be able to kill everything and with minimal Aji. So blocking is definitely the best move here that I missed. So here in the commentary, Michael also saw this Atari. It's kind of a rare shape. Why would I make this bad exchange? But the thought process is white owes a move in the corner, and then I will want to capture the outside. And maybe if I don't make this Atari exchange now, later white will not connect. So if white Atari here, then my exchange of course is bad, but then I get to kill the corner, which is fine. And if white Tenuki and I extend here, then this shape might be better than this shape because white is slightly heavier. So I think this concept is important. So my Atari basically makes white shape heavier. That was all within my calculation. I thought I could peep here. I lost some in the corner, but I'll try to profit on the outside. And I can attach here. So after this attach, white's 4 stones are dead. So after these exchanges, my territory didn't really increase because white lived in the corner, and white's outside also became stronger because I made the Q12 peep. So I played okay by capturing the 4 stone, but I think in this fight overall, I still lost ground because white lived in the corner. That's the most valuable part. So even though I killed the 4 stone, I wasn't feeling good about this game at all. I thought, oh, I started this fight a while back with this Hane, but it really didn't end up well for me. So notice at this Hane, I have the corner, I have most of the side, and after all that exchange, white just lived in the corner, and it's almost like I lost a move. And now the right side for white is a lot stronger. The AI recommends me to start the ko right away, and the AI does not like the 015 Atari, so just want to throw that perspective out there. I think it's still complicated exactly what will happen because, as I mentioned earlier, if I lose this code, I think the outside group will die too. So I think it's hard, clamp is a better way to start the ko. So notice in this shape, if I Tenuki, white can fix a ko at Q19. So this is a direct ko. And in the other variation, if black Tenuki, this is still a ko. So something to keep in mind. So the AI recommends me to start the ko right away. But I think I'll still have to investigate more about like how to fight this ko. So white is doing pretty well so far. It's almost about a Komi ahead. It's hard to do the positional judgment in the game, but I could feel that something's up, not right for black. It's the territory is not easy to count, but if you look around the board, black's only hope is in the Ko, and black doesn't have a lot of places to gain territory, and the bottom left will be a big liability for black. So let's say black is not completely alive. It's easy to see that white will have a lot of co-threats, and which basically means the top right will be hard to kill. And if we count up the rest of the board, white will have a slight edge in territory because black is so weak. Now, most of this will become territory, and black won't have many points in this area. Yeah, so now white plays here, and then I still have this cut aji. I don't have to fix right away, so if I tenuki, I can still, this is still okay for black for now. But this means that white has a Sente Kosumi here, and then white can expand to the bottom. So I still want to fix that cut for this reason. The shape in this area was very tricky for me this whole game. I couldn't quite find the right shape. I don't want to just connect. I feel like that would be slow because this is a very small move compared to the Kosumi. So I want to fix this cut with a higher efficiency. So I decided to wedge here. White made a small mistake. I think white should have pushed here, and now I don't really have a lot of forcing moves. I will have to just simply connect. White connected there to gain more points in the bottom, but that gave me this cross cut. So notice now connecting is Sente, so I fix a cut, and now I can play something else. I can play in the bottom. Okay, so after all that exchange, I finally found the vital point. Similar to before, white can't really counterattack because of this turn. Notice this is Atari now, thanks to f3. And as soon as black captured the stone, white is in trouble. Yep, so going back is the correct move. And then I made some exchange in the top right. So here, white actually blundered big time by playing the Hane. I think he thought that it will be the same or look similar, but actually there's a huge difference between the Hane and the clamp, because now I don't have the option to tenuki. So with that mistake, I actually caught up a lot, because now I can tenuki and it's still Ko. Yeah, the peep was a big mistake for me. I was getting down on time and I felt like I was still behind. So I don't know how to, I don't want to play too passively in the bottom left. I want to do something here first and then see how I can fix. My other problem, actually the main problem, is I don't know how to fix the bottom left. I know connecting is Sente and maybe I can play here. But after this, I have a cut in the middle that I have to fix. And if I do something like this, then I feel like white will be happy to play a move in the bottom. But still, here I still have the initiative. I can still live comfortably. I shouldn't have tenuki because as important as this peep might be, white is not devastating to white locally. So white can take the initiative and attack me, which he did. A nice move to fix is actually this clamp. I found it. It's a AI suggested move. There's this clamp Kosumi. So the idea is now I have a guaranteed eye in the middle. Actually, I don't have to Atari here. I can Atari here because connecting is Sente, and then I can connect back. If white connects here is similar, so I can fix the center cut in Sente. Now, actually, even if I tenuki and try to start the Ko, it's not a big deal for black anymore. Because, let's see, connect Atari is Sente, connect is Sente. I basically have an eye in the center for sure, and then I have another potential eye on the side, and I can also connect back. So even if white were to play two moves locally, it's actually still hard for white to kill. So I don't think black will die even if white has two moves in a row here. So Kasumi was the right shape at g5, but I tenuki here, which really put me in trouble. Here I should still play the Kosumi, because if I can get a Sente Eye in the center, I can always live with another move on the side. So I made this mistake, and then I have to come back to fix. I was getting short on time, so I played this Kosumi, but it's a very bad exchange, as we'll see later. I should just Kosumi and descend, as I did later in the game. That was a bad exchange. So if white blocks, I can play here. No, this exchange basically didn't do anything for me. If white peeps, then I can block. In this shape, white can destroy the eye, but the center Aji is still pretty bad. And I just never need to make this exchange. At this point, I could also potentially just find a second eye. This will be much better for black. Here, his peep was actually a big mistake. He probably thought he can destroy the eye, which is true, but it turns out that the most painful way for black to live is to give white the Sente Atari. If he can Atari these moves in Sente, then he get a lot of points in the center. His goal was never to kill me, so I think he kind of lost track of what he needs to do here. By peeping here, he gave me a stone at K7, which is which definitely reduces the center. He only captured one stone, which is worth 1 point, but he gave me a extra stone in the center. That's gonna be worth a lot more. So I was feeling bad because I was under such severe attack. But after he peeped, I felt like I have a chance, because I knew this was definitely good for me. Oh, and coming back a few moves earlier, why I made this cut. I don't know if it's actually good, but by cutting here, I know I have to fix this cut at some point, and then in the game he captured it. So I have an extra code threat here, because I know the game will come down to the code in the top right. If I just connect, I feel like there's a chance he will connect directly, and I won't have a code threat later. I know that in this case he could still extend, but I feel like there's a higher chance of me finding another code threat if I extend here. Looks like a small thing, but I just want to put it out there in case people wonder about it. Okay, so after a series of exchanges, I finally lived. It's a solid 2 eyes. I'm alive locally, and then I'll have another half eye on the left. So I think this case, in this situation, I'm doing well in terms of this fight. If white didn't waste a move here, white just blocks directly or just go back to the ko, I think I wouldn't have such a comfortable life, because ultimately white lost a lot of ko threats here. If white just, yeah, this P would be a great ko threat, or even this Atari. So the bottom, the value is really low. There's not a lot of points here, and white wasted a lot of exchanges. So I pushed once, basically just to create another ko threat and then start the ko. Now I'm pretty sure cut will become a ko at some point. I started with other ko threats, but this push created basically some backup ko threats for me on the right side. So this is a ko threat. I was not surprised about this peep. I almost thought he misclicked, and upon closer inspection, I realized it's actually a good move. I thought he was trying to play the Hane or something. But the Hane, if you just Hane, this also gives me a ko threat. So ultimately, this is not good for white. Yeah, so the peep, and then that triggered my mistake. Atari here was a big mistake. I was down on time, I think probably the second to last Byoyomi, and I wasn't sure how to respond here locally. This is a ko threat, of course, because if I Tenuki, white can play here in Sente and then get rid of the other eye. Now I'm stuck with only one eye. But I only play here, and that gave white a Sente wedge later. So in the game, the problem is both in terms of code threat and in terms of points. Okay, so I played here, and if you count the number of points I have here in the game, it will be 6. I capture 3 stones, and later I have to fill in G1. But if I play here, it's a kind of a hard to find move because the shape is so strange. This will be different. First of all, extending is no longer a code threat. So if he wants to find 2 more code threats like he did in the game, he will have to throw in and then do this. And now I have 8 points. And actually it's a little more because I can potentially make this eye. So that will be almost 9. Or I can play here. So I gain 2 points in the bottom and about a point on the left. So this is a total of 3 points. It's like looks like an innocent mistake, but 3 points at this stage of the game is actually huge, because the game right now is decided by only a few points. Right, so right now white is up by 3. But before the mistake, it will be a dead even white up by 1 point. This is basically a half-point game right now, and I made the Atari. So luckily for me, I didn't realize my mistake. I didn't see H1, so I wasn't panicking. Sometimes a big problem in the game is where you play something and you realize your mistake too early. So then you just sit on that and try to be waste a lot of time just regretting over your mistake instead of actually focusing on the game. So I didn't realize it in the game, which worked out for me. I thought he found some code threats here, but by peeping, he also gave me 2 free code threats. So I wasn't too worried. And I look around the board and I realize he wasted all the code threats in the bottom. So now he's out of threats. He almost had endless threats before. But now after I played the K1 connect exchange, yeah, after these moves, he doesn't have a lot of code threats in the bottom. So, and I know I still have a few code threats. For example, I still have code threats here, and I still have this backup code threat here. I think that's what triggered him to cut. He is out of threats against my bottom left, and locally none of these will be code threats. Because killing the corner is about 30 points, and anything in the center will not be big enough. So his only hope is really against the bottom right corner, but he didn't want, like for example, if he wedge here, this will definitely be a code threat, but he's probably worried that that might lose him points, and I still have a cut code threat, and then maybe he'll peep and then capture. And at this point, maybe he thought that he will lose too many points here, so I still have another code threat here. Let's say he just made some bad exchanges. Let's say here. I might be able to extend as another code threat. And then let's say he makes another bad exchange. And at this point, maybe I can give up the ko because he lost probably close to 10 points in the bottom. And then I could profit another 10 points on the left. So that's the thought process. He's basically just out of code threats at this point. So he chose to play the extension, but that's clearly not a threat. I have to Tenuki at this point. If I respond to this, then he will basically that will create too many code threats for him. And now my cut at Q8 may no longer be a threat. There's a possibility. The AI, I think, wants white to peep here and to find more code threats. If white start with the peep, white might be able to find more code threats. So this will still be a very complicated variation. White is slightly ahead still, but because the code is really complicated, I think it's still anybody's game. Finding code threats more aggressively in the bottom right will be white's last chance, I think. So in the game, I think white is also down in time. So he just descended and I captured. Now, if white doesn't kill the corner, white will be pretty behind. Because I killed the corner for nothing, basically. Peep was white's last-ditch effort. But looking around the board, white can't find a single code threat. So if black can just have a ko and find some local threats to live, that'll be more than good enough. This Kosumi shape was nice to know though for against the corner. In a shape where white's very strong all around and white has the S6 descent, white can actually peep here to start a ko. Yeah, so if I connect, white can play here. This is not possible to kill. Or white can also wedge and hane and then live like this. I was prepared for a ko, so I just started this fight. Peep was actually a ko threat. If I connect here, white can play here. And then if I connect here, white can still play here. Surprisingly, this is still a dead shape, even though I won the ko technically. So I have to block, white played here. Fortunately, I can push. This is a local threat. I was panicking a little because I didn't realize peeping was the threat. But fortunately, I found pushing could also give me a second eye. So I capture and I cut. The cut was another panic move. Actually, it really didn't have to be so worried. I can just Atari here and capture. This will be alive. I was reading that white can save this stone, so I threw in earlier. But I didn't have to make that bad exchange earlier. So at this point, if white connects, I can throw in, and connect. This will be a liberty shortage. Yeah, so black can live locally. And actually another option is if black extends here. I think black can probably also live this way. Yeah, black can hane here. It will be hard for white to kill. But I was down to the last 30-second Byoyomi. I didn't want to risk anything. So I played the safe way just to Atari. Actually, I cut here Atari. I lost a point there. But I figure at this point, 1 point wouldn't do anything. So white also profit in the corner. If white played the right endgame, it would still be kind of a close game. Only a 3-point game. 3-point lead for black. I don't think I would really lose this lead at this point, but considering all the trade that happened, I think it's incredible that the game is still reasonably close. But in the game, I think white knew this wouldn't be enough, so he just played something more aggressive. He wanted to play here, so make this exchange. So then his eye on at L5 at A will now be a point. But I read this out and then I thought I didn't want to be too passive, so I just connected. If white plays here, at the very least I can Atari and then capture. I feel like even if I lose the center 2 stones, that'll be better than losing the R4 3 stones. So of course he played here, he wants to make a last ditch effort. And I hane here. I thought that this will be my strongest move locally. If white extends, and I can find some sente exchange on the outside. And actually now I won't even lose at any stones. So his early move at N1 will be a big mistake. So now he chose the strongest response by wedging here, and I connected. I made a mistake here too. I didn't see I could wedge here. So if white tries to cut, I can just capture the whole group. So this doesn't work. White have to extend, and then I can connect. It doesn't matter if white plays here. As long as I connect here, it will be sente. White has to do something. Otherwise, I'll make an eye in the center. So the idea is I only need to connect in sente. And on the side, I can actually make another eye by this Atari. This will be a ko. This is the best white can do. But as mentioned before, white doesn't have a single ko threat on the board. And of course, black has endless local threats. So a ko here will be functionally alive. Here I kind of missed a chance, so I just connected. So white get to wedge here. It's a small mistake, but basically the corner shape is still the same. I get to Atari and live in the corner. Yeah, at this point I can actually tenuki. It will be a ko for life, but because I have so many local threats, it actually works for black. If white, let's say, white connects here, I capture. Yeah, white doesn't have any threats, maybe throw in. But all of these are local threats. This move, Wedge, even cutting here is a threat, potentially. Actually, cutting might not be a threat. I have to be careful about cutting. But even wedge and throw in. So white just can't really compete, because if white start disco, white will also lose a few points. But yeah, short story short, I get to live in the corner, and then we enter the end game. And in the game end, I was able to win by a few points. At this stage, because I didn't take the end game in the top left, it's just a 3-point lead for black. But white made some end game mistake later, and I was able to win by 6.5 at the end. Overall, it's a very exciting game. Kind of had a slow and peaceful start, but the middle game fighting was very intense. I fell behind by missing a few key moves in the bottom left, but I was able to turn the game around through the code in the top right. Ultimately, after all that exchange, the game was still only down to a few points before white made the endgame mistake at S14. I won't go into detail here. But yeah, I was happy to get the first win for Team Chicago. And even more fortunate for us, we won one of the other two games. So Sangsu won board 3 for us. So we beat Toronto 2-1, starting off our season really well. It's a different change from last year where we did lose to Toronto. So we had some new roster for this year, but I'm happy that we're off to a great start. I don't want the video to run too long, so I'll just pause it here. If you have any questions about the content or comments, just leave the comment below or shoot me a message. Thank you so much for watching to the end.